As runners, we all challenge ourselves in ways we never thought possible, pushing the boundaries of what we're capable of to smash through targets and set ourselves new, bigger and better ones.
This awesome hobby that we share gives us one thing in common, and it brings us together as a community. Whether you're working towards completing your first parkrun or you're a veteran of the sport who's run 100 ultra marathons, we all know the feeling of reaching that maxed out effort and our own red line.
Welcome to our podcast, where your hosts Brett Elsmore and Andy Maguire discuss the struggles, the successes and everything in between on our running journeys, as we all work towards the next time we're running the red line. Aha! And welcome to episode 35 of Running the Red Line. I am your host, Brett, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Andy, who yesterday celebrated a birthday where he is clinging on for dear life to his 30s. How was it, mate? How are you this week?
39th year of life. Yeah, it was all right. Feel good. Feel a bit taller today. So we had a little jaunt down to the Cotswolds for lunch yesterday, which was quite nice. Went to Bourton, the scene of the crime, for my 10k PB, which was fun. And what else did we do? Not a lot else, really. Couldn't really be more 39 if I tried. I think came home and just watched TV and had pizza.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you have your pizza? Because that's what you said you were going to do, was go home and have pizza by the fire.
Well, I wasn't going to say this, but I should probably shout out, not really a shout out, rather than just embarrass my mother, who doesn't listen to this podcast. I don't think she even knows what a podcast is. But she, yesterday, was supposed to go on holiday. And in between going for a drink at Witherspoon's, BHX, and going to the gate, she lost her passport. So she couldn't get on the flight. Because I think, if I'm honest, and I know my mother, I think she'd had a few brandies. I think she'd had a couple. And I think she's gone to it turns out that her passport was later handed in and it was found in the toilet. So she's obviously put it down to wash her hands and then she's run off to the gate because she spent too long in the spoons and subsequently missed her flight. She was with a friend her friend went to Gran Canaria, all fine. But my mum was on holiday at the Ibis, Birmingham last night. That was where she spent the first night of her holiday. So she's 300 quid down and she hasn't gone on holiday yet. So she's finally got there today. But so I thought I was going to have to go and pick up my mum yesterday to bring her home.
Does that mean, though, because she's had one less day over on holiday, she's playing catch up when she gets there, so she's going to be even drunker?
I don't think so. She spent all her blooming spending money on the Ibis. Oh, so yeah, she's an absolute clown. I think that's where I get it from, to be honest, my mother. But she's a vivacious soul, my mother, and I think she throws caution to the wind sometimes a little bit too easily, and subsequently, sacrificed the first night of holiday. So but yeah, all good. It was an eventful birthday, one not to be. I'll remember this one. This was the one that I nearly had to go and pick up my mum from the airport, but I didn't. So, but yes, yesterday was good, and next one's the big one. 4-0 next year.
I know.
Move up an age group. Yeah.
Yeah, which means you've got to go for that sub 3 by then. That was your plans, weren't it?
You know, when you say something and you immediately regret saying something.
Yeah.
Why on earth did I say that? What a stupid thing to say. Because you are that annoying friend that will never, ever let me forget that. So, yeah, I will be more cautious in my approach to what I say on this podcast from now on. So, yeah. But, yeah, so, we've got a good podcast ahead. We think we do. We're pretty sure we have. Yeah,
yes.
We do.
Yes, I think so. How has your week been other than that? Have you been up to much or?
Well, yeah, I've been. I got stung by a wasp for the first time in years. bar steward stung me on the back of the head. I've still got a little lump.
You know what you need then, don't you?
Go on.
A full head of hair like me.
Yeah, you ain't got to worry about the old wasps, have you? It was quite comical actually, because I was walking the dog and I could see her sort of rodeoing, and she was trying to get something off the back of her. Don't know. She kept behaving slightly weird, so I think she disturbed the wasp's nest, and these wasps luckily kept landing on her harness. And I went up to her, I said, "What are you doing?" As if she could just respond back. What is it? Can you explain what you're doing, please? And then I literally saw all these wasps, and I was like in a horror film, I was like, "Daisy, run, run!" So we literally started running. As I started running, this thing stung me on the head as I was running, and I was like cursing and running through a farmer's field at the same time. If there was anyone who filmed that probably would be worth 250 quid for some sort of crooked version of You've Been Framed. But apart from that, lots of running, and
Good.
Yeah, that's it. What about you?
Mate, I think I've only just about caught up with sleep. I had a bit of a lie-in this morning, so I think I've just about caught back up. But it was an interesting weekend last weekend with deadlines on deadlines and trying to get stuff sorted. So I had some.
Was this about your night shifts at the shop, for 4 a.m. finishes and things like that?
Yeah. So on the Friday I finished at the shop at about 3:30, 4:45. And then on the Saturday, I finished at 2:30. And then, was having to get up early the days afterwards as well because of stuff going on. So, it was a bit of a hectic weekend, but we got through it. So that's all that matters.
Oh, good. Well, at least you don't have a 2-hour podcast to edit.
Well, yeah.
Just to add some insult to injury.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But enough of us. We this week have some very special guests, don't we?
We do. Yes.
It's the second time we have had some. I was going to say some guests, but the last time we had a guest. This time we have 2 guests.
Yes.
Shall we get them in onto the pod?
Yes. Release the hounds.
So, everybody, welcome to Running the Red Line. TQ on the run and KQ on the run.
Oh, there we are. Welcome. Well, why am I saying welcome? You welcome me.
Welcome to my pod.
Thanks for having us. TQ, KQ.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they consume this podcast, guys, but this is my condo. So for full context,
if at any moment we hear some tinkling of the ivories, you've just had a.
This is it. Yeah, I've just come off the piano at the back.
Bacharach on the run.
In all seriousness,
this is what 6 subscribers can pay for.
This is it. Where Andy has to contend with Daisy running out the room, I've got a python. No word of a lie. Sort of hiding in the backyard. So if I've got to go, then I'm going to have to tend to that. So, no joke, by the way. I'm being deadly serious. Yeah. So I'm in this sort of outhouse that's housing a python, but it's got a Mac as well, so it's ideal. So here I am.
Got a python.
Yeah.
Start to a podcast. Brilliant.
Yeah, there we go. Kept that one under my hat, didn't I?
It's like you're Mike Tyson or something with your exotic animals.
Yeah.
Hangover Part 4. Yeah. Well, I was going to say welcome to the podcast, lads. A thrill to have you. So, for anyone that's listening to this and not able to watch on YouTube, we're joined by Todd Quiney and Karl Quiney, AKA TQ on the Run from YouTube, and KQ Hollywood, Hollywood Q. So ahead of their marathon, which is coming up fairly soon, they're both doing Chester Marathon in just over 7 days. Sorry to hope the panic hasn't set in too badly, but no, it probably has. yeah, we just wanted to get the boys on, just have a good old chat with them, because I think I could be wrong, but I think these boys can chat about running just as long as we can. So we could be in for a long one. So I do apologise in advance. So I was going to say, Brett, if you had, I don't know if you wanted to go questions first, or should we have introductions first?
Yeah. Should we have an introduction to each of them first?
Yes.
And they can talk about themselves, how they got into running. Who wants to go first? TQ, KQ?
Yeah, fight it out between you, brothers.
TQ's the mate. Get him on.
Okay, so TQ, it'd be good to hear how you got into running, because I'm not sure whether you were a club runner back in the days in your youth and you've continued on, or you've got into running later in life like me and Andy have.
So a real whistle-stop talk, as we could talk about this for far longer than what the podcast is going to go on for. We've always ran as growing up, because my dad ran throughout. He was a competitive runner. So we've always dabbled. Because my dad was in the police force as well, we'd turn up as kids and go and do the races there. But it hasn't really been up until the last sort of, I'm going to probably say 5 or 6 years, where we've really took it sort of like serious, because growing up we were always football, and then we got into cricket and we played competitively as cricketers, and then that sort of went to one side, unfortunately. But now it's only really been in the last couple of years where we've sort of started taking running really seriously, to be honest. And sort of coming out of COVID, I always wanted to do a bit of a YouTube channel. Didn't really have the bottle to do it. I was like, come on, Karl, we've got to do this. We're really good. And he was like, we can't. And then I took my. I don't know if you went to that. I don't know if you did the race. No, you're in the league, but you're in our league now, aren't you? But
the cross country.
Yeah.
Because you're in the fast group, aren't you? So you've always been in Division 1, whereas we've only just been promoted up to Division 1. So
yeah. So, and it wasn't. I got bought the Insta360 for Christmas, because I was onto the missus saying, I really want to start doing this, and she bought me for Christmas. And I turned up to that race on a real cold Saturday afternoon. I was like, I'm just going to start talking at the camera and see what happens. And I put together the video. And I sort of sat in the front room. I was like, "What do we all think about this?" And it was like, "Yeah, it's good." And I said, "Right, I'm going to upload it." And I just uploaded it. And since then, we have such a whale of a time doing it. And that's a real quick sort of few minutes as to where we are now. Karl will be able to drop in and fill in the parts that I've missed out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I suppose the journey of running goes like way back, and we grew up. I mean, we're one of 2 of 5 brothers, so there is 5 of us, would you believe? And as you can imagine, growing up in
all runners?
Yeah. So growing up in a household where you've got 4 brothers and a dad who runs, and as Todd says, it was football. Really, that our competitive outlet was when we were kids. But then, if to keep fit for football, it'd be, my dad on a Sunday morning saying, "Come on, right, you're coming out for a run. You need to work on your match fitness, and you've got to be this level of fitness. And here's a pound coin for getting up that hill." And those memories really go way back, and playing loads of different sports, and just trying to stay fit for those sports, really. And that was what running was to us, and that really sort of was our early foray into running. But because there was 5 of us, if we'd go out and there was any chance we'd have, we'd always be racing each other. And then as we get a sort of little bit older, our main sport becomes cricket. And just lived and breathed cricket, and we played every hour we could. And again, we'd play for all hours on a Saturday. I'm a batsman, Todd's a bowler, and the other boys are like a mixture of batsmen, bowlers, all rounders. But
I'll come back. You haven't mentioned that. You should have mentioned
whether
that.
whether we have been playing on the Saturday, we'd be like, in the middle of summer booking a Sunday race. And so, we'd be playing cricket on Saturday. Our legs would be shot to pieces because of 55 overs in the field or batting for however long. But we'd want to then toe the start line and do just a very sort of, civilian race. And we always sort of really liked the fact that we could play cricket but still run competitively as well. So the thirst for running was always there, but I suppose it was never a priority until we reached COVID, and COVID, the team sports went, and so we just didn't have that outlet. All we could do was run. You had that hour of exercise, and at that time of our life, it all sort of came together because we had we all 5 of us come back to live in the same house during that period of time. And, when the rules came in, you can only, run or exercise with people in your household. There'd be 5 of us on the canal towpath, and we'd be getting funny looks from people and thinking they're breaking lockdown rules. There was times we'd have to explain ourselves that we were a 5 all living in the same house. It just turns out we were of a similar age. But we had that time about running against each other and training with each other. It was like a training camp almost, and obviously it's a very sensitive time for a lot of people. But, certainly for our running, it was something that really just focused that. And, during that time, things happened with the other sports. And coming out of COVID, it was really that switch that flipped with running. And not look back for sort of the last 3-4 years, really. So
there wasn't much else to do, was there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It was doing that on a Saturday morning and then a Saturday afternoon, because prior to what I do now, would dabble. I DJ'd for 3 or 4 years, so on a Saturday afternoon I'd sort of go online, and I'd go live on Facebook until they kicked me out for copyright. But I'd play music, and that was our COVID Saturdays, and that's what luckily saw us through. But it was all governed around how quick we could go out and run this 5K. It was always like a 5K or a 10K that was set out that you could do from your households. It was all ran from Tipton, and no one could mix. It was like, this is the course. Go and do it, and then it was a really good way of interacting online. So we go out, and that was where we really got, as Karl said, our buzz and our love for running fast. And we were like, our pace is getting quicker and quicker here. Our PayPal credit was getting bigger and bigger because we were buying Vaporflies every other week. But and then from there, that's sort of obviously gone to one side, and it's now where we've stayed with the same set of lads at Tipton. And that's where we find ourselves.
Yeah. So when did you join Tipton?
Just pretty much prior to that. So my dad always run for DK, and so we started there. Karl ran there when he was sort of 17, 18. But we only really started at Tipton probably 3-4 years ago. So it's not been very long at all, really.
Yeah, it was the guys at the club Tipton that ran these. They were called Corona runs. So like Todd said, that they'd post the local course. I mean, there was a series of them that they were brilliant. One was called Quarantines, and one was called Corona Run, and that was really because we, were part of this. That's when we signed up and became, fully affiliated at Tipton Harriers, and so that became our club really. And like Todd said, very much fleeting members of clubs previously as growing up. DK, Todd said, Dudley Kings Rimford, again a local club to us. But Tipton Harriers, the most historic and got the most prestige, and the highest level of competition. So it was a natural choice for us.
I was going to say, because Tipton have got some pretty good runners, aren't they? Who are pretty speedy. So you're throwing yourself in with a good group of lads to start off with and get your running going, really, club-wise.
And
Yeah.
the kit's pretty noticeable every time you rock up at a race. You know that the Tipton lot are there when you see the Celtic colours. And it's New Balance gear as well, isn't it? It looks like look really nice kit.
Yeah, it is. New Balance. I mean, at the moment, I think they're trying to invest in the Saw vests, you know, because that 0.01% that it'll make on race day.
We'll take it.
Yeah, we're definitely going to pay the 80 quid, 90 quid, or whatever it is as well.
Yeah,
the green and white, and I suppose this is part of our love for running. When we were younger and we were turning up to these races, that green and white and the hoops that you'd see was always sort of at the front. You know, and you'd be looking up to it and you'd be thinking, wow, you know, as younger lads, imagine being that quick and imagine being up at the front like those guys. So, you know, the more we progressed and the more we felt, you know, we want to pitch ourselves at the sharp end. That was where we put ourselves. So, yeah, it was a good choice. No looking back, really.
Oh,
so since you've taken it a bit more seriously, how much of a progression would you say you've had? So, like, say your 5K times that you were doing during COVID, how have they come on since then to now?
You call me.
I suppose before the part of running for me that I love and really hold dear to the passion that I've got for the sport, and I suppose it links to how much we enjoy you know your guys' content, and coming out of COVID, and that was so much fun competing, you know, in a virtual sense and against our brothers and against the guys' times. We'd played cricket at quite a good level. You know, my claim to fame is that, you know, I once captained Mowing Alley for my local club, you know, Mowing Alley of England fame at that time as well. So we were playing at the sharp end of competition as cricketers, and then coming into running, it was a natural right. We want to be as good as this as we were in the other sports we'd played. So it was never a case of we're going to take part, and that was sort of that natural competitive instinct. But because in growing up, it was never our main sport, I always can hold running just above everything, the sport itself. So, you know, when it comes to times and, you know, I didn't quite get what I wanted, and I always very quickly check myself in that, do you know what, you're running and you're running at a competitive standard, and you remember those days that, you know, this was probably far beyond how good you'd ever think you were going to get, and you have to remind yourself the journey that you've come on and what you're mixing it at, because when you do pitch yourself in at the sharp end, it gets quite serious quite quickly, and you know, without talking ill of anybody, you can sometimes pitch up at these races and, you know, find yourself not talking to many people. You know, everybody's very intense. You know, league races, and you know, you're on the start line, and you can see people are visibly, you know, nervous. And the sport of running, historically, I suppose, has been participated by quite an introverted personality, but with that, quite strong egos as well, because you're putting yourself out there. You know, you're competing against individuals, and you're proud of what you're going to do, and everybody on that start line is going to fight tooth and nail. You know, you better believe it, you're not going to get any short change out of anybody. But I suppose our approach in coming away and not growing up in that environment is that we come to running, and it's just running's the god. It's not the times, and it's not the you know, the places that you finish. And you know, when we listen to you guys, that approach of like, you know what? I just love running, and that's why we do this. And yeah, okay, we've got targets and we've got things that we want to achieve. But reminding yourself, actually, no matter what times it is that we're getting, that we're able to do what we're doing, and the fun that we have along the way, and the fun that we poke at it, is something that is why we do it, really. And yeah, just going back to your original question, sorry, Brett, is that I suppose those times that we got during COVID, and then we joined the club, we certainly see a gradual progression, but that progression becomes a little bit less as you're getting quicker. And we saw a steep progression quite quickly. And what was minutes that we'd be putting onto our 5K times and 10K times is now like seconds, and that margin for error is right down to those seconds. And it's harder to make that level of progression. The training has got to be that little bit more, a lot more consistent. I don't know how you feel about that, Todd.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know how people consume this, but who have we got coming up at the screen now? Who's got something to say on this?
Is this
This one's Misa. This
Misa.
is the little lady.
See, this is our Sunday morning through the year, so of course we'll be watching this on the big screen, but we usually listen to it through Spotify. But no, in terms of the progression since joining a club, I'd recommend anybody joining a club. That what it does, not only for your fitness, it does for your confidence, because we're keen believers that there's only so far you can do with the training you do by yourself. We probably in this build up to Chester, we haven't done enough at the club. We've done a lot together, but I think for your confidence, when you've got a coach, and Brett, you do talk about it a lot in terms of when you go down and you've got your coach saying you're doing this tonight. Well, if you're doing that on a cold Tuesday or Thursday night with a group of lads, then you turn up on a Sunday morning, you're like, well, I've run these times. I know what that feels like. So we really felt that our confidence levels in doing the sessions that we do at the club have really helped broad along our running. And it's not until recently that I figured out, like coming back from an injury that I had earlier on in the year, confidence plays such a big part in running. I never thought it did. Other sports I've played are very confidence they're confidence driven, but running is massively as well. So I think it plays a massive part in terms of getting that little bit quicker, running those times. I think that joining a club really does progress you with that.
So do you find that when you show up to a race now, instead of talking yourself out of a time that you really wanted for the last 3 months and the rest, you're now in a position where you're like, no, I really do want sub 16 5K, and I think I could do it because I've got the tools to do it. Are you at a point where you can give yourself a talking to and say, no, you've trained for this, you can do it?
If you want to keep that question for after a week Sunday, because I've got a time in mind for a week Sunday, then, but no, 100%, it's, we do all have those goals in our mind, but I'm probably one more so that when it gets really tough in a race, I don't know how you guys, I know Karl doesn't, when it gets really tough, I look at my watch, I'm like, time sliding in, no, come on. But then my mind starts thinking, no, we're doing all right though, and that's a confidence thing as well, because sometimes just revert back to what you wanted on that start line, but 4 mile into a 10K, you're thinking, oh, I'm getting tired now. No, but I've done all right though. No. I'm getting better at doing that the more racing I'm doing since I've come back from this injury. So yeah.
Well, before we talk a little bit more about the marathon and Chester, I was going to ask you, Todd, about because we haven't talked about it yet, the YouTube channel. So since you've started TQ on the Run, has it helped? Is it something you can see yourself keep it up for a long time? Obviously you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that it's helped?
In terms of my motivation to do more races, is that what?
Yeah, well, yeah, just across the board. Has it improved your running?
It's massively improved my running, and I started this on the back at the start in January.
Yeah.
When me and Karl were training for Manchester, I thought this is a really good idea that we can document what we're doing here, and I know that's what you guys have done for so long. Is you love the YouTube because you love putting videos together because it's a great memoir looking back. And I was like, this will be a great way in years to come. I can look back at how I trained for that marathon. So it's massively helped in my motivation. And I do hope it comes across that it's not just the perfect parts in our videos. Like we've got like Vernie coming shortly in the next couple of days. That Karl will explain his own way a little bit later on. That he turned up with a goal in mind, but that's quite raw, and I like to think that we keep it quite raw. We have the pros and highs of running, but then the parts where it didn't quite go to plan, because running doesn't always go to plan, does it? But it's 100% something that I fully intend to carry on doing. I don't think anyone learns the way of how to make YouTube videos, and some go really well, and some you spend hours doing, and I've spoken to you, Andy, about this, where you're like, oh, this will go really well, and then it goes, it's a 10-10. But I love doing it, and it's something that I've been quite lucky up until this point. It's been like 8 months, and I'm and I know it's in its really infant stages, and I dare say in 12 months, 18 months time, I look back and I go, it's come a long way, isn't it? But I'm forever learning of bits that work and bits that didn't quite work. And I'm really lucky that I've got the brothers. Like, we all watch YouTube now. I don't know if you guys are the same, but we've cancelled our Sky subscription. We're just full on YouTube now.
Yeah.
We're still waiting. We're waiting for your return, Brett. But I'm waiting. I'm back to Alton Towers 2022 now, of watching your guys' videos. But
you're going backwards. You're going the other way.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh, no, I've done her. I've done absolutely everything else. But no, we're back. We're back as far as that. I mean, we weren't obviously standing, but those videos were great. I was watching the other day of like 2022 running around Alton Towers, and it's that time of year now, and autumn's coming. So,
do you fancy a bit of that? Do you fancy Alton Towers this year, or is it you got something on that weekend, or is that something you're doing? I love theme parks. I do. I've got my YouTube runners, but then I've also got, I don't know if you know him, Theme Park Worldwide, who I sit and I watch, going around America with his missus, and he lives just outside Alton Towers, so he like lives and breathes it. But
I think at 5 Mile, you're going around Teletubbyland.
It's bonkers. It is bonkers. The race is absolutely crackers. Yeah.
Normally you get down and getting your sprint finish going.
yeah. But I've signed up. I'm gonna be there. 2024.
Yeah, we've both signed up, me and Andy. So if you're up for it, we could.
Is that going to be a video of
it? Well, I'll film it.
We'll do a screen near you in February 2028.
It's the same as the last 7 races I've done. I've filmed them. I haven't edited them yet.
I want to
just a chance to.
I want to see a return, but it always falls on the opening weekend of the cross country. So that's on the
yes,
Sunday?
It does. And that's why I got injured last year, is because I ran the where is it, the first one where Division 1 and 2 run together?
We go, yeah. Oh no,
Pittville
it was
Park, isn't it?
It was Pittville Park. Yeah.
And so I ran that, and I was going to run it steady, but then ended up racing it. And then the next day raced Alton Towers half, which is really hilly. And that's where I got my injury, which put me out for months.
Ah, yes. Oh, of course. I remember this now.
And as I say, if I'm doing laps of oblivion and my hamstring goes, I think that's my running career done. So I've got fears of it, to be honest. But it looks.
Alton Towers is I don't know where the last time you actually went was, but it's deceptively hilly because it's just undulating the whole way, isn't it? it's basically a roller coaster in itself. It's just constantly up and constantly down, isn't it? And it's,
Do you have any periods? Do you have any periods where you actually can get your feet moving? Because I always feel like you're turning corners on that course.
Yeah. There's a long section at the back of the car park, isn't there?
That's what I was going to say. There's a couple of bits in the car parks where you can get into a rhythm, but then you're back into the theme park and it's up and down and round tight, twisty corners. So yeah, there's not much.
Round nemesis.
You're going. You do that race because you're embracing the fun and the novelty of that race. You're not really going there. Well, of course, you can go there and win it because, like, I've never met him, but I know someone that's won it a couple of times before. I've got a guy called Mike Roderick, who's Tommy D's mate from down in South Wales, and I'm pretty sure that he ran not a course record, but he beat his previous third time running was last year. And he beat his fastest ever time and didn't even win. Is that right, Brett?
Yeah.
Because obviously it's starting to attract some faster people now. So, and that time is probably, is that under 110, 50, under 70? I don't know what the time would be. That would be, would it?
I can't remember. But I think the 10K on the day before, on the Saturday this year, was won by Lucy Charles Barkley, who's the triathlete.
Yeah.
So it does attract a couple of fast runners, but it is a crazy race, and it's one of them that you should probably approach slightly differently.
Yeah, and because it's on the same weekend as cross country, I'm probably just going to jog it this year and just enjoy the race and then enjoy the roller coasters afterwards.
Yeah. That's all I'm turning up for.
He says now. He says now that he's going to jog it, but we'll see.
I won't bring my chest mount and get told off on Wickerman like Andy did.
Yeah, that was the most demoralising.
The flashing light.
One of the embarrassing moments of my life. Like a 17-year-old from like Utoxeter, reducing me to like treating me like a toddler was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. I was surprised I wasn't ejected from the park.
Were you filming on that? She was like, "Were you filming on there?" And Andy went, "No, no."
beep. Look, I was trying to put my hand over it, but it's still going beep. Yeah, but the comedy was we'd been on it about an hour before, and I think we filmed on it then.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny. But I've whilst we've come to a natural pause in the conversation, I've got a thrilling new feature for the listeners and the participants of Running the Red Line. Now, I'm sorry, Brett, this doesn't include you. This is just for our guests. No, actually, Brett, you can be involved in this.
Brett's winning it. Right.
I'm happy to sit out. And
there are no winners and losers in this, because what I basically wanted to see is how in tune as brothers you both are. Will you get 15 out of 15 or will you get 0 out of 15? So it's like a his and hers, do you know what I mean? Mr. and Mrs. sort of thing. So I'm going to ask you 15 things, fairly quick fire, and it's this or that, okay? Question, and they're something to do with running, some to do with not running. Question 1, Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Is the correct answer.
There's
anyone
no
who
correct
chooses
answers.
Pepsi I can't be associating with people who choose Pepsi over Coke. No way.
But I absolutely love a Pepsi Max.
Oh,
a Pepsi Max is. Oh, you having a Coke right now? Thank you.
It's like an amalgamation here. We've got Karl on the Coke.
Oh wow!
Max. So there you go.
Oh no!
Unbelievable!
No.
There you go.
Wow.
Pepsi Max is way too sweet.
But I'm just practicing a few things.
It's filled it with Pepsi. Question 2, 5K or 10K?
10K.
Is that 2 10Ks there yet? 3, Brett, I'm going to mute you on this one. Oasis or Blur?
Oasis.
There you go.
Is the wrong answer.
Is the correct answer. Miles or kilometres?
Miles.
Miles.
Get in. Come on. Correct answer.
Question 5, half marathon or marathon?
Marathon.
Half marathon.
Oh, interesting. Question 6, BBC office or the American office?
BBC.
Ooh. BBC is, but I tell you, my opinion has changed massively. But BBC, OG.
See, I have got a friend, right, who's a massive OG Office fan and has tried to convert me to the American Office because apparently the more it goes on, apparently it just becomes brilliant because I've never seen it beyond series 2 and I'm watching it going, well, that's not like the real one, but
it's not.
Apparently with the cafe disco and all that and stuff like that. Is that what it is? There's all different funny characters that come in, and Will Ferrell's in it at one point, isn't he?
Yeah. All I'd say is you've got to get over. See, I was always like you. I was always OG UK Office, and you watch the first series of the American Office, and they're like cheap gags of I don't. Am I in?
Hang on. I think as the Python playing with as Python just chewed through your Ethernet cable.
Yeah, Python's got a stranglehold on it.
Can you spell on Todd, please?
Hang on, CQ. Are we live? Or are you just standing really still in your millionaire mansion?
Yeah, I think as Todd was saying. Like that, if you go into the mindset of the American Office, thinking it's going to have the same, dry sense of humour, and it's just not different completely. And if you get through series 1, it does get better and better. So I would definitely say it's a must-watch if you haven't done it.
Yeah, see, I've only ever seen the pilot episode of the American Office, and it put me off completely.
Yeah. They try the jokes that only work in the UK one, in our opinion, like with the jelly and the stapler. It doesn't work. Only David Brent can do that. But no, as it goes on, it grows and grows, and the characters like Ed Helms out of Hangover, the dentist, he's brilliant in it, and it does turn into its own show. So it's well worth watching.
Yeah, okay. All right. Noted. I think I know the answer to this. Road or trail?
Trail.
What?
Ooh.
KQ going for trail?
Oh, yeah.
It's after you race that train, isn't it?
Why? He's got he's good.
Yeah, no. So when we get into, preferred terrain, and for me, it's hills, mud, it's cross country. As of recent, my aim and my goal is to get quicker on the roads. So I've been doing a lot more of it. But the tougher the race is, the harder it is, the better I am. This trail and hills for me.
Todd, you're road all the way, are you?
I love racing trail. Karl's far better than me at it. It's a different sport in the bleak midwinter, but it's road for me. That's where,
Very good. I don't think you've said, apart from Coke, I don't think you've said the same one yet in Oasis. Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Oh. Brett's going to kick you out the chat now. YouTube or Netflix?
Hang on, before we go on. Have you always run in Nike?
I dip into Adidas for everyday trainers. I like the Boston 11s that I've used, but I've never had a fast pair. My brother Adam has. He's had the Adizero Adios Pro when they first come out, the really thin ones that he still wears now. But
the Adizero Pro.
That's the ones, with the really flat bottom. But always gone Vaporfly or Alphafly for racing.
Yeah. Same as you, KQ?
Yeah. So, I mean, going back sort of about 2 years now. Had a horrible time with a couple of injuries, and that sort of thing, like your choice of trainer, just sticks with you when you are going through that horrible sort of cycle. And it might just be completely mental, but at that time I had a couple of pairs of Adidas on rotation, and I just wasn't able to get comfortable with them. So Nike next percent. But to be fair, everyday shoes I'll flit into a Hoka but between Nike and Adidas it's Nike.
Yeah, okay.
TQ, you saying about the Boston 11 that you liked. Last night for my run, because it was absolutely chucking it down, I was like, I don't want to wear any of my new shoes. So I grabbed my pair of Boston 10s, which I can remember when I got them, I loved them and thought they were brilliant. Man, they are so stiff. They are like the foam on them is so solid compared to what shoes are like now. My Boston 12s feel like a pair of slippers compared to the Boston 10s.
Yeah, we've said the same thing for Yonks, because as I said, like Carl says, we use Hoka or we dip into Asics like Nova Blast for our everydayers. My God, the Boston 10 and 11s, the first couple of miles, it's like you're wearing a pair of house bricks. It's so, but then they do get a little bit easier. But to start with, you're like, oh Lord, I can
they're horrendous. They're like, it proper flared up my my glute last night when I was running. But like all their new ones are so much softer. So they've really developed their foam since then. So I'm looking forward to trying some of the new ones that have just they haven't been released yet, but they've just said that they're going to be released in January. So they're looking pretty good. There's the Evo SL and the Adios 9 and the Adios Pro 4. So they're all looking pretty tasty.
Yeah, they do look nice as Pro 4s. Next question, because I'm going to have to change the conversation here because we'll talk about shoes for literally the next 5 hours. And I want to finish my quiz. YouTube or Netflix?
YouTube.
It's very quick answer. I'd probably say I'm the same as well. Dogs or cats?
Yeah, I can't pick. I've got both of them staring at me right here, right now. That's horrible.
Right. I'll give you a pass on that. Sunrise run or sunset run?
Sunrise.
Yeah. Custard cream or bourbon?
Custard cream.
Oh, good choice.
Crisp or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Crisps.
Yeah, okay. Summer running or winter running?
Summer.
I think we knew that was coming, didn't we?
Finally, Boston Marathon or London Marathon?
Boston.
Yeah, interesting.
With that question, have either of you done London?
No.
Okay.
It's obviously both of them is just like London is the ultimate goal next year. If we'll come on to Chester in a minute, but London being the goal next year. But I suppose just the thought of Boston is just untouchable. How it would even look, start planning that. I suppose you want what you can't have, don't you?
Yeah.
We can't film on course, Carl. There's blokes that are getting copyright strikes here for filming on course. Can't get a video out of it. There's no point doing it, is there, guys?
That's the only reason I'm not doing it. I can't film. But have you seen the amount of videos that slipped through the net last year? Like did Ben Parks do one? Kofuzi did one.
Kofuzi.
Eric did one.
This Messy Happy.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're just getting a bit lax or they just choose who they're going to strike down and they just choose 1 out of 10. I don't know. But I saw a couple of videos. Yeah, but wasn't he allowed to keep his race video, but he had to get rid of the weekend video or something like that, or the other way around? I think he had to take down his Boston Marathon video because I think he was because at the time what made it even worse for his situation was he was sponsored by BPN, I think.
Yeah.
And they were like, you definitely can't have this video up because you're sponsored by somebody. So I think, yeah, he had to pull it.
Talking about video and on course, and this is something I did want to ask you about, is TQ, how did you get away with filming national cross country? Because pretty much at the start of every cross country, they say no filming, no cameras and everything. And then you've got your head cam on for the whole race.
Now, I hope no one from the people that run are listening into this video. I slipped through the cracks. I sent an email. So when I did my first video at Wally Woods, I had a rather large telling off one of
Did you?
Yeah. He tried to knock my confidence. And I thought, no, it's not happening. This isn't. But no, I didn't get that bit on camera. But following that, I had a few chats with Ryan Baker from Rayleigh Adventures. Shout out. Who said, because I think he was competing in the same league as you, Brett. They were okay with him filming on course, but in the league that we were in, they're really tight. But the national obviously.
Sorry, on the Birmingham League, they seem to be okay with filming and things like that. But the Midlands camps and the relays and all of the higher up ones, they always give a big warning at the start of the race that no one should be filming, or you'll get DQ'd.
Yeah. So I sent an email before when the Nationals was meant to happen saying I want to do this. And I had a reply of someone saying, I can't see there being an issue. So I took that as green for when the dry national come round.
Okay.
But I did finish, and I looked around, and Ryan didn't want to do it. No one else was filming on course, which now most races you turn up to, someone's got the cameras that we use, but no one was doing it. I did feel a little bit like, but I did finish, and someone nudged me on the shoulder and went, "There's no cameras," and I said, "Well, I did email," and he was like, "Oh, okay, fair enough, apologies." But
who did you email?
I had an email. He said, "Show me the email." I said, "The signal's terrible. I can't." And then I ran after my car. So never to be seen.
Excellent.
Yeah, sometimes you ask for forgiveness, not permission, don't you?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And like we always say, if you can't be good, don't get caught.
Yeah, and I'd love to have your guys' insight into that, because that's something that people responding to you filming. Some people's reactions great. Some people's reactions, especially around the running community, some people just don't. It's a hard concept to grasp, isn't it? Which in today's world, everyone's got a camera out, everyone's filming. But I'd love to know, you guys, when you turn up to a race and you're amping yourself up and you're talking to the camera, and then you hear someone say, "Put the camera away." And you're like, and now you bounce back from it. I wonder if you've got that much.
I've not had anyone say put the camera away, but I've had people say look at me funny, or give me or like I filmed Worcester half the other week. Not that a video has happened from it yet, but whilst I was talking to camera, I had several lads looking at me funny or chuckling the fact I was talking to myself and stuff, but I don't really care. It's not really gonna knock me. And I've had people whilst I'm racing, because I like to talk to the camera whilst I'm in the race, and I have had people say just shut up and run the race. But that's their opinion. It's not my opinion, so they're entitled to their opinion, but it's not going to change what I do.
We digress, but there was a story from a couple of years ago that one of the lads, he doesn't run for our club anymore, was racing Matt Rees, the Welsh runner. And they were up the top, and it was a really competitive race. And he got the camera out, and the lad that ran for Tipton lost his head at him and swore at him, and he never featured that. Yeah. I can't remember.
This was I think I remember this. Was this the Brighton half marathon in a really windy February day or something?
Might well be. It may well be.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? That someone would be that much of a, you know, a knobhead, really. Like you were saying, you know, some people, like, I mean, I may never know how this feels, but when you are up the front, like you were saying, Karl, like if you're at the sharp end, as you said, concentration is everything. And, you know, sometimes there's even prize money at stake. So part of me can understand why somebody would kick off, but it's 2024, man. It's like, come on. Like you said, everyone's got a camera. Everyone's entitled to have a camera. We're on public land. We're not doing anything wrong. We're not doing anything that's against any rules. So, you know, you just got to deal with it, I guess.
But
and
sometimes people are a bit annoyed with you having the camera as well, though, because they're really feeling it and they're blowing, and you get the camera out, and it's a bit of a show that you can still talk to a camera and run, even though you're running the same pace as them. Yeah, and some people don't really like that.
Yeah.
I think the last one is, well, it's so when you get at the car at a race day, some days we're really up for it, and like I hope to think that in all our videos we come across like we're full of energy. But some days for me, it's like I'm a little bit aware of the public around me, and some days I don't care. I could have had 8 to 10 points, you know, and I'm like rolling around. And I don't do that, Karl, anymore. That's the old Karl. But
a week on Sunday.
We are all friends here, Todd. Is there, you know, if you want to open up and talk about
okay. You're breaking up again. This isn't the forum for that. How do you just totally ignore the people around you now when you're talking to a camera and you're doing an introduction, etc.? I know it's easier once you've finished a race because it's pure emotion from the race you've just ran. But to start with, because it does require some warming up, doesn't it? To start with, it does. Yeah. Because people are watching, and if they sense that your energy's not there, they'll just go next, boring. Yeah. I feel like that anyway. I don't know.
No, I'm exactly the same. Sometimes you have to kind of play a little bit of a character or a version of yourself to speak to camera. But I normally find that when I've got that camera in my hand, it helps. Do you know what I mean? You can sort of switch on to presenter mode, and you can sort of you remember how it, you know, like you say about your track sessions and how you can implement that into your Sunday long runs and your races. When you've got that camera in your hand, you think, oh, okay, I'm in vlog mode now. I know what to do. I know what to say. I've done this a million times. And as soon as I put all my attention on the camera, like anything that's going on around me, hopefully doesn't really distract me or make me feel too self-conscious. And it's like anything, when you've done 10,000 hours or whatever that saying is about doing something, you start to be able to understand how to do it. And I think we've all done this so much now that it starts to get more and more second nature sort of thing. So, but yeah, there are times when I speak to camera and I can't be asked, but I think if you just keep it real and just, if you admit you can't be asked, I think sometimes if you play that version of yourself and it looks like you're lying, or if it looks like you're, you know, literally becoming someone that you're not, that's probably when people will switch off for good and not switch off from that vlog. But I think if you're honest with people and say, like, I'm not feeling it today, it can sometimes lead to a story that you didn't think was going to happen today. You know, like, oh, I don't feel too good, but I've ended up having a good time, and you could get a story out of it. So, yeah, I just think being honest with it is the best thing to do.
Yeah, I think as well, like mine and Andy's backgrounds possibly help as well, because like I grew up doing performing arts, so I used to do like theatre and singing and all that sort of stuff. So I was on the stage performing as a young kid. So when it comes to like performing in front of people and stuff, I don't really care now. I used to be really self-conscious when I was younger, and as I've grown older, I don't care what anyone thinks of me. So obviously I care that people enjoy what I do, but I don't care if I look a fool in front of people, because it's what I do. And Andy used to be performer as well. I mean, that was your job at one point, weren't it?
Used to be. How very dare you?
but yeah, having that, I think, helps in this situation. Whereas I'm not sure what you used to do or what you grew up doing, but not having that performance background probably is quite difficult to get over that fact that you've got to look a bit of a fool in front of people whilst you're talking to yourself to a little piece of plastic in your hands.
But I must say that the chemistry between you two on camera, your channel, Todd, I don't know if you saw this happening when you first did, you saying in December or January, that one Christmas when you started it. It's sort of become a bit of a double act now. And I think like people are really tapping into that. I think people really enjoy that. And I think like, there's been videos where Karl's been there and Todd hasn't. Yeah. And it's your channel. Like, but no one cares because it's like, no, that's really bad. No one cares. Sorry, Todd. No one cares that you weren't there, man. Oh, dear. People are just like, people love that you've got a different dynamic and you've got your brother and your brothers who are part of it. And it's like, you've got a whole production team now. And it's like, you've got different options to explore, So for example, if you aren't feeling it one day, just give the camera to Karl and just let him go run a marathon and see how he gets on.
We have this conversation quite a lot, and I suppose the more that the channel and the YouTube's become a thing, the more we have the conversation. It's just reminding yourselves why we do it. We for a long time, fun at these race days. Right from getting in the car and the music's blaring, and it's first thing on a Sunday, and you're traveling together, actually. It's a great record of just that moment in time, and we're doing something we love, and just keep reminding yourself like that it doesn't matter. Life's too short to worry about looking silly in that respect. We're doing something we love, and you know what? If people enjoy it, that's great. And along the way, we've got that memory of that day. So we have that conversation. Like, it's great that people enjoy it, and that's just what me and Todd would be doing anyway. There'd be the competitive juices would be flowing on the way to a race. There'd be the banter flying around. Why not stick a camera on it and just see see who wants to watch it as well?
See, that's the thing. With your videos, your sense of humor and your chemistry really, really comes across like instantly as soon as you start watching the videos, and it continues throughout the video. And I think that's something that keeps people watching, is if you are genuine and you are showing who you actually are, people are invested in that, and they want to see how well you do because they're interested in you as a person, not just the thing that you're doing.
That's really good to say, Brett. Thank you. And we're just a couple of brothers, just the banter is never far away.
It's all good fun. It's all fun and games. And the video that we're obviously all very anticipating, well, I know, have you got one that's coming out before the marathon? So you've got one of Karl's races.
So the day after the Nationals, we went to Lake Verney for the big half marathon, which Karl will have a chat about in a bit. So that'll be out. That's just finished. I've just finished putting that together. That'll hopefully be out on Sunday morning.
Wicked.
But that's a bit of a raw one. We turned up on a wet Welsh Sunday morning, thinking it was going to be, this beautiful picturesque race, and it was just really quite wet and damp, wasn't it, Karl?
Yeah, I suppose that's one of those moments that, you look at and the footage, you're thinking, oh, shall we put it out? I woke up and that weekend felt rubbish, and like you'll see on the video, I've got bags under my eyes, and I'm just like, oh man, this couldn't have happened at a worse time. Like 3 weeks out from Chester, this was the big half marathon that I was going to really pitch myself against the time that want to translate at Chester, and that's running. And you know what? If we're going to do this, then it's warts and all, and it's check it out. There's some footage there, and that's the last video I think that we'll put out before Chester. Yeah.
Yeah. So shall we talk a little bit about Chester?
Yes.
It's upcoming, and it's for those. We've had a few people that have written in saying that they're doing Chester, so it's obviously a very popular marathon. I'd say after London, Manchester, and maybe even Brighton. Maybe it might be bigger than Brighton. I don't know, but it's a big marathon, and a lot of people will use Chester as a qualifier, won't they? And I think it's also a Masters race as well.
I was going to say, I'm sure it's an English or GB champs race.
So you'll see a lot of England versus Wales, England and Wales vest, because there'll be people. I don't know if it's like you say, is it a champ? Is it an actual?
I think it is. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Chester Marathon is the marathon.
But yeah,
those.
But last year I was in your shoes, and I well, not exactly your shoes, because I wasn't looking at Chester as a goal race, because stupidly I couldn't decide between Chester and York, so they're in both, and I don't know if that was a brilliant idea or a stupid idea, but I went into it being half marathon fit, and Chester was a real soberer, because it was really sobering, because on the day of the marathon last year at Chester, it was about, by the end of it, by the time I crossed the line, it was about 25 degrees. It was unseasonably hot. And it looks like, well, but I don't know if it's what it's like up your neck of the woods, but it's been biblical rain the last few days. So I don't know if there might be a little bit of the wet stuff for your race day, but I don't think it's going to be as hot as it was last year. But I really enjoyed Chester, and I know that you're going to be in for a wicked day. It could be completely different to what I experienced last year, but there are parts of the course that are well supported, especially in Chester. And you go through all these little villages. You even run into Wales for a few miles. And then when you come back into Chester, the crowds start building again, and they'll really roar you over the line. So, yeah, I was going to ask you some questions about Chester. My question was to you both: if you had to pick one workout that you've done for your training towards Chester, what has been your favourite workout that you've done? You could include a race, I guess, but if you've done one workout like a Sunday long run or a session, no, let's keep it to sessions, so not race days. What have been your favourite sessions that you have enjoyed and you feel like you've gotten the most out of? So feel free to.
I think potentially might be similar to Karl, but we've really enjoyed incorporating parkrun and running parkrun properly, like not going out and totally, for the lack of not the name, running it to the red line, but going out and running it at that goal marathon pace, and then adding up. Yeah, so it just dips in and out. I think the Python's playing with the Wi-Fi. Yeah, so and then going on and doing a couple more sets after that of 5K blocks. By the end, so looking to do 3, so completing 15K of quality, and then you warm up and you cool down. I found have been, I suppose we'll find out a week Sunday, but I found that they've been the hardest, longest sessions
is that
to do.
When you've been to, is that when you've been to Telford Parkrun? Was it?
Yeah, we enjoy Telford.
One
that you've got to do if you've never done Telford 10K, and the parkrun's brilliant.
No.
But it's called Silking Way that goes out to Winebridge, and it's just pan flat, and we just go out and we take ourselves out on there, a mile and a half out, a mile and a half back. I personally really enjoyed that, and I feel like that's the freshest session that we do.
On that that you've just said, you mentioned going out and doing a park run at marathon pace, and then some more marathon pace 5K blocks. But in all of your videos, you haven't actually decided what marathon pace is. And do you know now what marathon pace is, or what your target marathon pace will be a week on Sunday?
So talk me through mine very quickly of what I haven't got a goal marathon pace in mind. I think I've done my research. I don't think I can get into London, even if I go and run 250. I'm good for age. I think
what age group are you in?
I'm 18 to 39, so I'm 30.
So, okay. You're sorry, but say that again. You're 30 at the moment.
I'm 30. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
So what?
I'm 30s as well.
30s.
Late 30s.
I'm 39. I'm 30s. I'm 30s.
So,
It's very cheeky git.
So you haven't got a target marathon pace as such, but do you know whereabouts your marathon pace will be?
I want to go out for the first 10. This will all go out the window because we've all got a plan until we get punched in the face, don't we? I'm not saying that'll happen at Chester. I want to go out. I want to go. It's not that good of a marathon, is it, Andy? I want to go out. I've done so much more listening this time. I was fitter for Manchester before I got injured. I want to be so far the right side of feeling good, rather than teetering on the edge at 10 to 12 mile, and because I think it'll get very lonely very quickly on a course like Chester, because it won't be as. You say it'll have parts where it's busy, but I envisage quite long country lanes where there's not a soul about. So
that's exactly right. Yeah,
I want to get to 10 to 12, potentially going at 6:30 a mile, 6:25, 6:30 a mile. I feel like that's a good pace for me. That I work
so about 250 pace. And
then if I'm in a position, I want to try and work down. And just have it on one overall lap pace. So I'm not going mile by mile. I'm just watching the overall lap just work its way down.
No.
That's my game plan. I don't know how well it's going to be executed, but I just think that I've probably been a little bit reserved in my training. I've not gone out and done the mileage that Karl's done because of what happened in the spring and how that injury really knocked me back for a good couple of months. So I've been a little bit more reserved, but it's like Chester's not the goal for me. It doesn't all end after Chester, doesn't it? It doesn't for Karl. It's if I run, I'd like snatch your hand after 2:45. If I run 2:45 and I'm fit and healthy, my winter's begun, and I can just build from there after a couple of weeks of chill and relaxing.
Yeah.
But that's my game. That's my loose game plan. Is grow into it because it's. As you both know, it's a long old race.
What number marathon is this for you?
This is number 2.
Number 2.
Oh, right.
I ran.
What was your first one?
So we ran pre-COVID. Literally, when did you ever hear of a marathon in January? But we ran. I don't think they run it anymore. But we ran. We ran the Gloucester Marathon, which was quite an. If you look back on the FOD Runners historical videos, he turned up that morning and half. We ran it for Diabetes UK because our brother Adam is type 1 diabetic, so he raised a load of money. And we all turned out on a Sunday morning. And that morning, Karl didn't do it because he was suffering with that injury he spoke about earlier. Me and Adam turned out and we ran it all the way together. And we did 2:57. And that was, we had no structure to our training. There was no such thing as a Vaporfly. I had the Zoom Fly 3 on, if anyone remembers that. But I was quite surprised that morning and that was quite an uninspiring, challenging course. So I'm hoping I can tap into a little bit of that, but we'll see.
Awesome.
So the park run you've mentioned, you do 3 5Ks or do you do 5Ks? Well, how do you structure those Saturday morning long runs you've been doing?
Okay.
I think key to those sessions has been, just going back. I obviously came off the back of doing Manchester. Manchester was my first marathon, so April this year.
Okay.
Going into Manchester, having had a good build at the time, going in quite confident to what I believed, but I went in so naive. And I was running some quick times, relative to what I was at that point. Over shorter distances, so 5K, 10Ks were sharp. I was running well in the cross country. But because it was April and we were around sort of lots of races, I used a lot of races as my build-up. And then what I did was sort of add mileage around it at a very easy pace. But what that sort of led to was going in very confident and running far beyond my means at that point. There's a number of things happen, but going out at sort of 2:30, 2:32 pace and holding sort of 5:40s, for the first 15, 16 mile. And that was too hard. I was working so hard after sort of 12 mile. And then having reached 16, a group sort of shifted gears on me that I was in, and I wasn't able to go with them at all. But because at that point, I'd worked so hard up until that point, it was downhill from there. And it was run, walk once I'd reached 20 mile, and there's still a long way to go. And that was a very, very tough morning. But anybody could have told me to run it differently, but I was never going to do it. I was always going to go run it the way I wanted to run it.
You've got to make the mistakes to learn from those mistakes, haven't you?
Yeah. And I suppose doing a lot of reflecting off the back of that, and doing a lot of reading and just trying to become a scientist of the sport, because that really, the marathon just like opens up just the way the body responds to so many different ways of training. Doing a lot more threshold work, finding out what threshold, what relative to my threshold is. The best thing I bought recently was a really good heart rate monitor. So running with that on all the while, just getting that live feedback from, where you are at in certain sessions in the week and how it feels relative, and getting used to actually when you reach that point, if you're reaching, for me, what's close to like 168, 170, I'm working hard at that point, and I'm working too hard, and I am going to tip into that threshold, and I am going to start working anaerobically, and I am going to start using different sources of energy, and that's going to be detrimental to me because I ain't going to have enough of that. So yeah, like Todd says, those 5K blocks at a threshold pace, and then discovering how tough we can become over those 5K blocks was really good workouts on this build up. I don't feel as sharp going in, but I feel more durable going in. I feel tougher over longer distances. So yeah, I think we'll see, like Todd says, but happy with the build, and those 5K big chunky blocks working at a threshold pace that has been key to this build up. And actually what I found, I've been able to do more volume because of it. Yeah. I'm not going out and redlining and working so hard over a shorter distance where your legs are beat up. I'm able to do really chunky marathon paced efforts over longer distance, and so my volume's higher than it was going into Manchester. So that positive.
Remind us what you ran at Manchester. What time did you get in the end?
2:48. I came in at. 2:48. Yeah.
So what are you aiming for at Chester?
Yeah. So if I can revise this a number of times, if I come in sub 2:40, then that'll be big progression for me, and that'll be a massive achievement. So fingers crossed.
Because, like you said, the faster you get, the smaller those gains, the smaller those margins, and the bigger potential margins for error there are, I guess. So running, just teetering on that threshold is, well, no matter what your speed, that's you're on that knife edge, aren't you? Do you go too far? Do you hold back? Because if you hold back, that could be detrimental to your overall time. You could be, I guess, going a bit too conservative for a big period of the race. But if you go too hard, you can bonk. And like you found out at Manchester, you could be walking when that. Did you find the hill, by the way? Is it a hill or was it an incline at Altrincham?
Yeah, it was a hill by that point.
Definitely a hill. Yeah.
I don't know the hill itself, but it was definitely 16, 17 that the wheels started to come off. And at that point, I just wasn't able to take on gels, and was tough work. And
at Chester, as I remember, there are at least 2 heartbreakers. So I'm pretty sure there's one at about 14 or 15 mile, which is in a little village called Holt, and it's sizable. It's steeper than Altrincham, but it's not as long. You'll probably only be running up it for 20 seconds or so. And then what did you say then, Todd? You're from Holt
still. You're from Holt still.
You're from Holt. My name's not Jill, it's Judith. Well, Judith, you are the rudest. And then there's also another. There's also another one at 25. Now that is a heartbreaker. So just prepare for that, because I know you could be getting there on just adrenaline. Well, there probably won't be much of that left in the tank by then, but you hopefully could just get over the line, drag yourself up that hill, get yourself up at 25. But yes, at Chester Marathon, there was a hill, a fairly sizable one at 15. And just remember that's there. So I don't know how you boys both are with hills, but that can be a little bit derailing to a lot of people's marathons. But a lot of people run fast times at Chester, so don't listen to me trying to make you go all cautious. But just know that those 2 hills are there.
Yeah, it's going to be marathons. Whatever course you're on, marathons is going to be hard. But if I'm in a position to finish and I'm finishing stronger, then potentially the first half, then that's a massive success. If I'm finishing in line, if I'm able to give it full beans in that last 10k, then that's a huge win. I think whatever time I come in.
So will your approaches be similar? Will it be a progressive, so Todd, you obviously want to try and progress through it. Karl, are you going to go even split, or are you going to try and progress as well?
I think the goal is always, if you can progress a marathon, then like you've paced that unbelievably. I think if you're still running strong, then that's a win. Even splits to progress, that'd be amazing.
Right. So
you said you have managed to do quite a lot more volume for this training block. What did peak week look like for you, and what sort of mileage were you both doing?
So peak week for me was, I think I came in at 84 mile that week. I was lucky. I mean, I work in education, so the build, I caught the back end of the 6 weeks break. So, I was able to, use the time that I had, and now since being back in school, back to a little bit more of a rigid routine, but use that time that I had, peaked at about 84. So yeah, had a good couple of weeks up at 75 and then peaked at 84.
So how much of that 84 was session work and how much was just easy mileage?
So look to get, I'm a massive advocate for easy running, huge advocate for easy running. A lot of my running's done at before school, getting up at 5 o'clock, the alarm goes, and getting out and doing my easy miles is so important at that time of the day. So I would look to this build up, having had one big chunky session early on in the week on a Tuesday, a smaller but same intensity session on a Thursday, and then a big long run on a Sunday. So Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, really the key times in the week around a lot of easy running.
Nice. What about you, Todd?
Yeah, it's not been anywhere near what I think my peak was about 67. Was literally 65 to 67 maybe, which pretty much consisted of a meteor session and a long run.
I'm just charged, so I'm just going to drop off cam for 2 minutes, guys.
So it's not been it's not been the sort of regimented, good build up that Karl's got, and I'll go into that. I'll go into this race knowing that, and it's not, as I said, it's not the end goal. So it sort of looked sort of like building up from 40 through the 50s, loads of mid 50s into a couple, if that, maybe that 167 and maybe a late 50s run, which if we look at marathon training by the book, is nowhere near like what you were doing, Brett, for Manchester. I was listening to the podcast a lot. The idea of me running 100 miles in a week is extremely alien. I just don't know if I could do it. And maybe that's a limitation that I have to accept. I have got my weaknesses in my Achilles and my feet, and I know that if I tilt the other side of that, I'm going to get injured. I have to do a lot of work in the gym now, a lot of work on my Achilles and stuff to prevent me going back to a place that I got 3 weeks before Manchester. So I've been very cautious, but hopefully it pays off. Hopefully,
so you got injured 3 weeks before Manchester, Todd.
Yeah. So we ran, and it's really early on in my YouTube. We went to Rhyada in Wales, and we did the round the lakes.
The one with the rain, the one with the hail, or was it? Yeah, I remember that race.
That was but that is one that you've got to get on. Honestly, we had a horrible day, but the race in itself was absolutely amazing. You start in this remote Welsh village, and you go and climb mountains for the first 4 miles, but then it's all just nice, gentle, up and down.
Okay.
To come back in, but we did that, and I was really happy after that. I think it's an 18-mile race. I think I finished in averages of like 6:10s or something, and Karl was even quicker. Karl's 2 minutes in front, but I felt primed after that. I was ready to go, and I went out for a session midweek with Adam, and I come back and I couldn't walk, and I thought, oh no,
God,
and my foot just blew up. It's just that tendon that runs underneath your ankle on the inside that just flared up. That I was hobbling around at work, and that was my marathon gone. So it took some time to rebuild after that. So this build-up, I've really took the time to work on that. I knew going into a build-up, I'd need to make sure I prioritise that as well.
How did that feel mentally? Were you able to sort of process it, and were you sort of okay with it, or was it like did it put you in a bad mood for weeks?
It was second time round. It happened exactly the same. 2 years ago, we built for Manchester. Nothing on what we did this year, Karl, but we both got injured on the run up to Manchester 22. Right. It was exactly the same injury. It was exactly the same one. I think I wore just an old pair of carbon trainers out on a session, and that flared it up and writ it off for me. But I wasn't doing any strength training, and it knocks you back. It's like you lose a leg when you can't run, when you're doing all that running, and it's your food and everything doesn't taste as good as it once did. And you're like, oh, God. Do you know when you go out and you go for a long run, food tastes amazing? I just was like, and Karl went to Manchester, and I went with him, and we had a great morning. But it took some time to rebuild after that, for sure.
Yeah. But with your training block for this one, sometimes it's more about quality than it is quantity, isn't it? So you've put the quality sessions in, so hopefully it will come to the forefront when you actually stand on that start line, because there's a lot of people who don't do massive mileage but still run amazing marathons. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
I think we spoke a lot.
Yeah, go on, Karl. Sorry, mate.
We in putting Chester in the diary, we spoke a lot on the build-up, didn't we? And we've all got that competitive streak in us, especially, me and Todd are always used to sort of vying for top spot when it comes to between each other, which just adds to everything we do. But just having that level of understanding and the maturity, I think, for Todd going into this block, reflecting on what happened previously, saying my mileage is going to be slightly different. I've got to focus in on those key gym sessions in the week. if I don't do them, I'm going to hurt myself eventually. And you know, we've had to live in those moments of getting injured, understanding those weaknesses in the body, prioritising those key gym sessions in the week has got Todd now to the start line, regardless of maybe not having that mileage around it, but you're fit, you're healthy, and we're a week out. So I think, you know, going in, you're a winner at the moment, and that's going through that, you know, that tough process of not making the start line previously.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about S&C because I know someone who's gone quite quiet on that front recently. Not naming any names, but so yeah,
what workout's gone, and I was leaving about 1 week, and then you know, we all get DOMs, mate. You know, we've all been dumped. No?
Yeah, I'm a serial ducker. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your S&C sort of schedule look like, and what sort of things have you been doing?
Yeah, massive advocates for strength work, and like we're sort of big time previous gym goers. That was previous to running being the be and end all. The gym would be sort of 3-4 times a week, getting ready for Ibiza in the summer. You know, purely about aesthetics, and then you grow up a little bit and realise actually it's got a purpose around that. And especially we still do that, yeah. So for me, it's long run on a Sunday, then it's a focused lower body session on a Monday. Quite key doing that the day after a lot of mileage, because doing, you know, you sort of absorb yourself in the world of what the pros do, and going into like a lot of single unilateral work, single leg work, you're actually able to identify your weaknesses that little bit more when your legs are fatigued. And so doing your lower body lift the day after a hard session or a long run is quite good, and you can, you know, you, like I say, identify the weaknesses, and then it'll be one focused lower body session a week, and then second session in the week will be upper body core with some plyometrics. So focusing on just loading the springs and making sure you're as sort of, you know, springy and elastic as you can. So 2 key sessions in the gym. If you can get a third in, then great. But that's just vanity.
Has yours looked pretty similar, Todd?
Not as regimented as Karl. I know you've touched on it on the podcast, but I still sometimes dribble out for 6 or 7 miles instead of going to the gym. But I've tried to keep it to 2 a week, and focusing in on those exercises that really help me. So like those ones that have strengthened my ankles and my Achilles, I've really helped, and I've focused in, and I'll throw a little bit of upper body in there as well, mixed in with it, and I try to keep it quite fresh. Pardon?
I just said curls for the girls, yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah, 1 minute I'm doing a squat and the next I'm on the bench press. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not been the fixed structure that Karl's had, but I've learned a lot from what he went away and he researched my injury and what I should do, you know, after Manchester, and it's really, really helped to get where I am now. So yeah, lots of work on my Achilles, lots of work on my hamstrings, and you know, understanding it all comes from your lower back. So trying to, I mean, I could do so much more stretching than what I do. I really, really could, but I'm better than I was, and that's a sign that I'm, you know, fingers crossed. I don't go out tomorrow and something bloody happens, but I'm ready to go. The taper.
Todd, are you a man of routine? Do you do the same things every day in, day out, or because of work and lifestyle, does that allow you to have routine, or do you have to smash and grab things when you can?
It's smashing and grabbing when I can. I'll work on a pattern in which I've got 2 earlys, 2 lates, and 2 night shifts, and running off night shifts especially is just so difficult, and that's when injury can happen because your body's tired. You get into the
Right.
shower after a night shift and you're like, oh my days, what on earth? I'm just showering. So I have to be very wary of that. And we've always said, I work on a 10-day split, which is my 6 at work and then my 4 off. So I just have to maximise my 4 rest days away from work and where I pick up my most mileage. And I'll still go out before late to maximise that as much as I can, but my rest days is where I really, really make use of.
Yeah. Right.
I forgot to ask you as well, KQ. If you're aiming for a good for age time for London, what age group are you in? And what type? What was that? Sorry.
I'm 35, so
okay. So you need to hit a 255, is it?
Yeah, so I've got my 248 from Manchester, which is obviously got my good for age for that, but a championship I'm at Chester.
Yes. Yeah, 240 would be championship start, wouldn't it? Yeah, which would be, with all the fast boys in the club vests. Yeah.
So I think I've fell out of. I think even with a good for age, I can't get into London now, can I? I don't think. I've read it a few times.
No, good for age. When does it open? The applications open in November, I think. The applications open, but yeah, is the qualifying period finished now?
I think it has. I think it literally finishes on the 30th. So unless I shoot for sub 240, which is just potentially a bridge too far, which is gutting. Be great for the channel because I can go back to Manchester and Karl can go to London. But aside from that, it's
on the same day, isn't it? Next year.
Just to buy a new camera. Yeah.
Karl, you have to
Christmas present
this Christmas, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Well, what I was going to ask you about as well, what happened in the race then? What happened at Lake Vyrnwy then?
As I alluded to, it was just, running happens like that sometimes. It just felt dreadful that weekend, but managed to sort of, talk myself back into it and got to the start line. And the outcome was not far from probably where I'm at. It's just it felt a lot more difficult than it should have. So I came in at 1:15, and I mean the course is beautiful. You literally are on. There's a mile. You shoot a mile incline.
Sorry, I'm just going to stop the pipe and it needs feeding. 2 seconds.
You shoot a mile uphill. You and then it's literally one circular loop of this beautiful. It starts on a dam, and you hook it round the actual Lake Vyrnwy half marathon, and you come in downhill. But it was quite sparse. The top 10 were very spread out. It became quite lonely, so great preparation. Putting those hard miles 3 weeks out just felt a lot more difficult than I was hoping. And the miles were banked, and I think we'll pop that video out. Like I said, it's a bit more raw. It's very rain affected because it was just tipping it down that morning. But definitely
So was the time what you wanted, but the effort was harder than you thought it was going to be? You went for about a 1:15, 1:14, 1:15 or something. You wanted it to feel easier than it did.
Yeah, I suppose that's coming out at an average of like 5:42s, 5:43s, 1:15 on a flat course, which I did a half marathon 3 weeks previous to that. We went over to Elvaston Castle and did that run through number.
That was well congested though, weren't it, that one?
Yeah, it was really congested, but actually, it was a really quirky morning, very congested, but the course itself and the ground itself was beautiful. And I think did that in just over 1:16. So all in all, a minute off that, and not far away from where I'm probably at, but it's going to want to feel a little bit easier than that going out, hopefully next week. So that's the plan.
Yeah, cool.
Something I wanted to ask you both about is I was proper jealous of you both. Was last weekend you both ran in the road relays, and I was absolutely gutted because I had a gig in the evening, and I tried every possible way that I could go and run the relays, get back, get showered, get all the gear sorted, and get back over to the gig, but it just didn't happen. So I didn't manage to do it. But what were the road relays like this year?
Yeah, Todd was at work. Todd couldn't make it.
Did you not manage to? Oh.
No,
Yeah.
I was asleep during the day.
Todd couldn't get out. Yeah, we love Sutton Park and love getting over there. And the whether it's the Midlands or the Nationals, it's always so good just to pitch yourself in at that really pointy end, And I love getting the mass start. So although you're going to do your bit for the team and you're going to take the baton on and you're going to do but if you can get the mass start, then you really do feel as though you're in a top end race. And that hill never gets any easier.
What was your course? Was it loops, or was it? Did every leg have a different part of the course, or what was the course like?
Same course, so you all do the same course. In the Midlands, it's the autumn one, isn't it, where you get the long legs?
Yes, that's the 12 stage. It was the 6 stage. So it's 5.8k.
Yeah, so it's a really awkward distance. That's further than 5k. And so same loop. You go out and everybody bombs it up the hill far too fast that you've then got to try and get your heart.
Is there a cat on the other side of that mug?
There's not, but I found this mug in the cupboard at work this week, and I was like, I have got to take that home, especially for this pod. And it's basically a load of partridge quotes.
Partridgeisms. Guess my face.
It's a mug with my face on one side and a cat on the other. I love it. It's brilliant. Karl, back to where we were. Sorry.
Call it with a cross talk. We've got Sutton Park is like last week the weather was biblical as well, so it was beautiful 1 minute and then it just absolutely heaved it down. So luckily I was managed to be in the mass start, which was weather was great, but then on the cool down it just smashed it down. So there was a few people doing some swimming rather than running at the back end of the last week.
Yeah. And how did you get on? How did you do? How did the team do?
We qualified for the Nationals, both the A and the B team, which is always the goal. So there's 2 teams towing the start line in the Nationals, but it's next week. So, of course, that is the big weekend for us, which we won't be able to make because of Chester.
Oh, what a shame!
But it's a great event to go to, and if you've never go to Sutton Park, it's the course is just it's a brutal course, as I say.
Sorry, go on, Andy.
I've just joined a club, like a local club here in Worcester called the Black Pear Joggers, and they've started at track. There's one guy who's always trying to recruit people for this or that, and he mentioned road relays a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't even really know what that was. But now he's on about getting people for cross country, and again, a bit like S&C, I'm sort of ducking in the corner.
It's brilliant
because I literally haven't got a clue what to do or what to expect. I feel like a fish out of water. I don't know. I wouldn't know what to wear. I have to dust off some old Puma Kings or something. I don't know.
Everyone does on their first time though, but the road relays is such a good event to do. It's great, but as Todd said, it's such a brutal course because the start gives you a bit of like a false sense of security because it's downhill on that first bit, and then it flattens out, and then you go up a hill, and it's a good old slog up that hill. but then you go down this back straight, which goes on what seems like forever. You get to the ice cream man.
Yeah.
Like the ice cream van, and you have to keep on going out, and you just go out down a big long straight, turn around a cone, and come back. So you're coming back against all the people going out. Yeah. Then as you come back in, you go down a hill into like the woods, and you think, okay, cool, it's all downhill now to the finish. But then it goes back up again in the woods. And then as you come out the woods, it goes downhill, but you turn right, and the finish line is all uphill. And it's just a sprint to the finish up quite a steep hill.
For me, running at Sutton Park, I either have a storm or I have a stinker. There's never two way, and I'll know a K in running up the hill. If I'm going up that hill and I'm blowing a gasket and I'm not at the pace, it's such a lonely place to be for the next 17, 18 minutes, whatever leg you're running. Yeah, but no, it's one that you've got to do. It's certainly one.
I'm at the beginning of my club journey, and I'm enjoying it already because I've only started doing track nights. It's been about 2 months now, and I feel, don't want to jinx it, but I feel like I can feel a difference already, just from training slightly differently because I've never ever done track before, and running with those high intervals and those. Now I'm sort of progressing. It sounds probably stupid talking to you guys about this, but now I'm trying to progress with like running my recoveries rather than walking them and little things like that. I feel like I'm really just trying to like squeeze all the juice out of the session. And it's when you've got other people there as well, you kind of just find an extra couple of % of effort. And no, I'm really enjoying it, genuinely enjoying it, club running.
I've just thought as well, because you've now joined a club, and I'm pretty sure Black Pair Joggers are in Division 2 of the Birmingham League, cross country. And the first race of the season, Division 1 and Division 2 run together. So all 4 of us will be at that first race.
You will be there.
Is that before or after Valencia? When's that?
It's November.
I'll just bring the camera. I couldn't support.
Dead air is a crime.
Oh, someone's just told me off saying no cameras allowed, so I'm going home. I didn't email ahead.
I'm not going to phone ahead, honestly.
I'm not going to call ahead.
I'm not going to call ahead.
You should call ahead.
No better than that. I'm not going to call ahead. Where are we at, Brett? First fixture of the year. Where is it?
I think it's where it normally is.
It's not
Pittville,
is it?
Is it not? I thought it was.
I didn't see Pittville.
No, hang on. The Division 1 is Northampton. That's not all together.
What? Have they changed it this year?
It may well be at Pittville. I don't think it's a different fixture list, isn't it?
I'm sure. Yeah, it's Abingdon Park, Northampton. So I don't. Div 1 and Div 2, I'm not sure, but I know it's Northampton.
That's tough, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry guys. I feel like we've deflated the vibe.
And if you just quickly, I've got a question for you because me and Karl keep a close eye on your change of footwear recently. The Alpha Flies, are they?
Yes, I wanted to know about this as well.
What my Hema flies, as I keep calling them, because they're covered in blood. So I've worn them for one run last week. I did about a 10K in them, and I'm in love. I'm besotted. I put them on my feet, and there was a point where I'd run steady and then a bit marathon pace and went beyond marathon pace, and I was coming back down trying to go run easy again, and it was as if I had like a little bit of a jetpack on. I was like, I couldn't run easy. Like the shoes almost demanded like a certain cadence and pace and amount of effort, and it was like nothing I've ever run in before. And I was saying to myself, don't get too excited, because I know it's not going to be like this on marathon day at 38k or 25 miles, but they felt genuinely really good. And because my feet, I've only got like narrow feet. Like I don't have wide feet, and I know a lot of people who have wide feet put those alphas on and they suffer horrendously by the sounds of things because of the pronounced arch. But I didn't seem to have, touch wood, any problems. So so far, nothing but love for them. And I'm thinking of donning them because I've got Cardiff Half next week, a week on Sunday, the same weekend that you boys have got Chester. And I can't decide how to run Cardiff. Do I try and run faster than Worcester last week and try and go for another PB? And do I try and go with these alpha flies and see what they can do? So yeah, I think I probably will, if I'm honest. I think I might stick them on my feet and see how they go. But no, so far, really enjoy them.
I have no idea. I keep my ears close to the ground with Vinted and alpha flies because I would love to get a pair. Even though I've got my marathon trainer ready, I would still rather have version 1 alpha flies for Chester. They are my absolute go-to. I love them when they're fresh. I don't know how you got them for 60 quid. They're nowhere on the market, on the Vinted market, size 9.
I think there was 65 with fees. It ended up being about 70, and but I wonder if the guy thought I can't really advertise these as covered in blood because people will think I'm some sort of mad axe murderer, or maybe he was just too embarrassed to admit that they had blood on them. But I who was I talking to? I can't remember who it was, but I think with Vinted and things like that, with like a bidding process, you almost have, not a bidding process, but like a buy it now kind of thing. I just thought, I've got to get these. I've literally got to get these because otherwise the next person will see them in 3 minutes time and have them. And that's exactly what I did. I just thought, yeah, go on, I'll have it. I didn't really think about it too much. And what I was actually thinking was, if I don't get on with them, I'll just resell them, and hopefully I'll be able to get as much, if not more, for them. Because yeah, that is a decent price, isn't it? 65 quid for a pair of version 1s, and they feel really quite poppy and quite new. Yes, they are. They've got a little bit of a blood stain, but small price to pay.
Yeah, interesting the motive of that bloke selling them so cheap, to be honest. But hey ho. They're about going price 150 quid, so you've done well there. You've done well. Yeah,
feel really pleased. But again, they could have done 500 mile in them, and he's just really scrubbed them up. But I think I'd know. Like you can just see the trainers look really, really full of life, and they feel really good underfoot as well. So I feel like they're decent. So yeah, I think you know.
Yeah, 100%.
I just got the feeling this guy's worn them once, and he's had a shocker in them. He's obviously got some bad blisters and they've bled, and he's thought, I can't wear these again. But for some reason, has to wait until now until sell them. Because I don't know if they're brand new. He had a brand new. He might not have.
They're not fakes, are they?
Well, it could be. I don't know how I'll know. Have shoes got serial numbers or something? Like, how would you actually be able to spot a fake?
An IMI number, I don't know. Unless you've had the genuine alphas, I don't suppose you'd know. But
yeah.
If that type of effect off one running them, who cares? Right? If you're...
yeah, that's very true. Yeah,
they did. They felt really nice. Really was like all those buzzwords that YouTubers use. They just felt I had them all responsive, poppy, like everything. It was like, wow, this just feels like a. And I've never put the Prime X on my feet, but I don't know if they would feel similar to that. I felt quite high off the ground because it's quite a fairly big chunky stack, isn't it? But yeah, I really, really like them. So
how do they feel compared to your Vaporflies?
Heavier, ever so slightly heavier, maybe. But I don't know if that's my mind, because they look bigger. So maybe I'm thinking they're heavier. They might be exactly pound for pound. They might be the same. But I don't know. They just feel slightly wider, maybe slightly more stable, maybe, than the Vaporflies, because the Vaporflies are quite a narrow shoe. But yeah, I don't know. I've got a really good feeling from them. So I'll have to put them through the paces for a race. But I don't know, because they're going to be a marathon. The Alphas really, for me, would be a marathon shoe. I mean, I know there'd only be a few seconds difference between my marathon pace and half marathon pace, but I don't know whether to run Cardiff at marathon pace in them, but then what's the point in that? I could do that around my local area. So I might as well race the race in those alphas. Because if they feel good at half marathon pace, surely they'd feel good at marathon pace and not the other way around. I don't know. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, they should do. Have you decided on race day shoes?
Well, sorry. Can I answer that question for them? I thought you were asking me then. I don't know. That Alpha has actually thrown a it's basically thrown a spanner in the works. I'm considering them for Valencia.
Wow, the fact you were so stuck on the Pro 3s, you're now... Yeah, oh wow, that's interesting. What about you two? Do you know what your race day shoes are going to be?
I've got the Vaporfly 3 that I took out in the Welsh Valleys that I ran in that race, that are brand new, fresh out the box. They've only got literally 10 mile on. I'm rolling the dice with them. If I could have an Alpha Fly 1, I'd have an Alpha Fly 1, 100%. But Karl tells me, he loves them. And I did enjoy them for that 10 miler. They haven't quite got that lift off the ground that I feel the Alpha Fly had for me. But I'm going to go with that trainer. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I thought I was well set. But whether it's a bit of paranoia or, just on this taper, the last 2 times that I've taken them out, so I wore them at Lake Verney and wore them in the Midlands last Saturday. Yeah, the legs, I was, I'm right at peak mileage weeks for the build, and, I'm hoping that's what it was. They certainly weren't as poppy as previous, so I've got that horrible feeling of like, do you need to purchase 2 weeks out? And I think I've got to back them and just go with it. And so at the moment, it's the Vaporfly 3s.
Right. Same colourway. You've got the same colourway as each other.
Yeah.
Bright green, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You got your kit all sorted as well. Is that will you be racing in your Tipton gear?
Yeah, Tipton colours.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So we're all set.
Short of choice. Are you a split short guy or are you a half tight guy?
Split short.
Yeah, I tried half tights on that 10 miler and they annoyed me. So I'm going to be going back to the split short. I just don't want to be popping out halfway around there. That wouldn't be ideal or for anyone, involved. So, it's an occupational hazard with them Nikes, honestly.
Yeah. So, because you're both split shorts like me, what will you be doing for carrying nutrition and your gels and things?
Yeah, it's the old band, isn't it? It's the old naked band, which you have to sit above the split shorts, but then you have to go vest tucked out, don't you? So vest tucked out above the split shorts, and then it's a naked band above the above the shorts.
But I'm as a slight curveball, I'm going to have to, because those Insta cameras will not carry you through even half of the marathon. I'm going to have to take the pod with me, and because the last couple of times I took out for longer races, it just runs out of battery, and so I'm going to have to take. It will be able to house it with the gels, but if I want to capture any of that sort of last, and I'm envisaging at the top of that hill where you really went big with the crowd at the top of that hill, I want that moment. So
you'll get it.
See, that's one of the things with the new Insta360 cameras, which put me off getting one, is that new housing. Because I've got the Go 2, and it's so good because it's got that little clamshell case, which is the charger. And I use that as like a handle to hold and start and stop the video. But it's constantly charging in there, so it doesn't run out of battery because it's always in the charging case. Whereas the new ones, being so big and bulky, that charging case, you don't really want to be holding that aloft for the whole race, do you?
No. And I can't. I don't know how the likes of I couldn't run with the tripod in my hand. I love taking the camera on board, but it's got to just be sat on my cap. I can't. If I'm holding a tripod, it just wouldn't work for me. I've tried it on training runs, so I'm going to have to stick the little pod into the belt with the gels.
Yeah. What I have done recent races is, I think I did this when I did Newport, because I had exactly the same fears that would happen to me. So I started off the race with it on my head, and then I preempted it running out of battery. And in those sort of quiet miles when not a lot was happening between, 13 and 16, when I didn't really have a lot to talk about it, I let it charge for that 20 minutes, half an hour or something. And then I got it straight back out and it was okay. So I don't know if yours would behave the same way, but I just used it. I just had half an hour or 45 minutes or so of no filming. And but I was lucky because I had I had you there, Brett, like filming me every 3 seconds because you kept popping up. You kept popping out of bushes.
That was great.
I was like, how have you got there?
That was brilliant when you clocked Brett. You didn't.
I had no idea you were there. And I've watched that back and I cringe every time because I say, what the are you doing here? And there's literally children everywhere. And I feel so guilty about, but that's my thing. I cannot filter my language sometimes, especially when I get excited and I'm already high on adrenaline, just crossing the start line for a marathon. Then I see your face, and then so I apologise to all those young Welsh children.
Talking of filming the race, though, KQ, are you going to be taking a camera round with you at Chester?
Yeah. So I think we were talking about this off the back of Lake Verney, and I think a purchase has got to be made. I think we're going to have to get dual camera footage. We are trying to. If that can't happen, we are sort of trying to have a chat with a few people that are going to come up for the race anyway. We've got a few of our family that are going to come up, and if we can get them with a couple of cameras out on the course, then that'd be amazing. But if all else fails, there may need to be a purchase. And however, brand rights for the channel will have to be discussed, and a name is impending, I'm sure. But that's obviously down to Todd. And
how would you, if you did manage to get the second camera, would you do it like split screen, or would you do 2 vlogs like TQ's experience and then part 2 would be KQ's, or would you do it like a split screen kind of? You got options, haven't you?
Got options, got options.
I hadn't
thought about that, but I have to have a think, KQ.
Like when you're watching the BBC footage of athletics, you want a split screen, or don't you? You don't, when it switches to, no disrespect, but like the shot put, and you're wanting to watch the 15 split screen. So we have to talk about.
My performance would be as satisfactory as the shot put for people who are trying to say.
I'm sure the banter will be top tier on race day.
Are you going to start together? Are you going to run any of it together, or are you going to just run your own race?
I think we're going to be pretty much. We're going to run our own race. Carl's going out with slightly different goals in mind. I'd love to go out at 6-minute miles, is what Carl's going to do, but I think that's too much of a gamble for me. What happens at 10, 12 mile if that road somewhere in Chester gets even longer and the tunnel closes in and I'm nowhere to be seen? I do not want that place. So I'm going to be sensible about this one, and there'll be plenty more where we run alongside each other. But it's a belt.
What about your warm up? Have you got any pre-race rituals, or will you just see how you feel on the day? Will you do a mile, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? How will you do, and what will you do? You do drills, or what will you do before the race?
Yeah, we'll do all that. We'll go out and we'll probably do a mile with some stretches, and we'll do a fair bit of talking at the camera and on the start line. And then I think once it starts, it'll be. But I think the camera. I think if I get it right with the battery thing, we'll just take, and it does just take my mind off what we're in. especially for that long period of time. It does help me a little bit, just take my mind off this race that I'm in. So I start doing a few clips and stuff, and then I'm half a mile ahead. I'm half a mile in front of where I was just, and so it does really help. I'm fine. I've got a good relationship with it at the moment.
That's something I've found during races as well, because I like talking to the camera when I go through each mile. It stops me thinking about the running, and I'm too busy talking to the camera. And then when I put the camera away, I've noticed 2 minutes have gone, and I'm already a quarter of the way through the next mile. So it sort of distracts you from the actual pain of the marathon itself.
And
technical the race day sort of rituals and just getting everything right. I think one thing that I've switched to, which has really helped in this build, is manually lapping my my miles.
That was literally the question I was going to ask you.
Yeah, just running the mile that you're in, and not looking too far ahead, not worrying about average pace, just living in that mile, that 1 foot in front of the other, has been key to this build as well. So I've enjoyed that switch, because for a long time it was like average pace, want to live at that, what I've got to now work harder, or back off. But having that just on you, what's on that screen, keep it simple, run the mile you're in.
You've used a lot of heart rate sort of data and stuff in training. Will you kind of put that to one side for the race?
So I think for the first half of the marathon, I'll be aware of it. That not having it on the front screen, but on my Garmin, I can have it when I do lap, that it will show me during that mile what I'm in. So it's not something I'm constantly checking. But when I lap my mile, I'll see what my average heart rate is. And like I said, I've, through this build, got a good understanding that if I'm upwards of sort of 165 and towards 170, then that's going to be going too quickly. And if I'm going too quickly too soon, that's not going to end well. But if I can have an understanding of that and get close to that back end of the race, if I can get to 20 miles, then that's going to go out the window, and then it's full beans from there. So the heart rate spike whatever it needs to. If I've got a progressive 10k in me and towards the end of the marathon, then that's where I'll finish strong.
Is that the same with you, Todd? Are you just going to keep an eye on heart rate but not live by it, or do you not bother with it? Or
I don't massively bother by it. I run by feel, but I don't know what it'll feel like at 15 or 20 mile. If I get the 20 mile and I'm in a position of a base to build, and I know the last 10k at Chester's particularly tough, then that'll be a great position to be in. But I have no idea. It's a roll of the dice. So
Todd, for you, will this be the first time you've run beyond 20, 22, 23 miles since Gloucester?
Well,
19, 20, whatever it was.
Yeah, I did one 20 miler a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. So I've done lots of work from 15 to 20. I'm happy in that range. But for that Gloucester marathon, I did nothing above 14. So, the training has been better. I'd pray that the last 10k will take care of itself. And I know Brett sat there thinking, you're wishful thinking there, dude. I know you are. This is the podcast enough now. But I'm just hoping to trust the process. I'm hoping that it will get me through. And
it's a sensible strategy that you've got to not go out too hot and to check yourself before you wreck yourself, and keep it calm early doors, and like you say, have that dream race where you kind of just get quicker and quicker. So, but yes, the very best of luck to you both.
Yeah. Hope you have a great race in 9 days' time.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's this next week going to look like, taper wise?
I plan on going out tomorrow, potentially 8 to 10, and then a shorter one on Sunday, or vice versa. I'll look to do both with KQ, and then next week will be thinning out big time, a couple of 4 milers. 5 milers. Really wrap myself up in cotton wool for next week.
Yeah.
Won't be a lot of running at all.
Yeah, so drop down to sort of half of what peak week was this week. So by the end of Sunday, I'll be at sort of 40 mile just for this week. With 2 on Wednesday at like a marathon effort. That was this week just gone. So 40 mile this week and then down to in the region of sort of 15, 20 with a 5-minute spin on Wednesday in between a short, easy run just to remind the legs and what that marathon effort feels like. Like Todd says, it's all about resting up now and making sure we get there.
You're still big both down the gym this week?
Oh.
Yeah, it's difficult because that's just routine for me. So the alarm will go, and that's part of like the morning. It's normally the run, but if it's not the run, it's I've just got to change that. Whatever the focus is in the gym that week. I've come from the gym tonight. That'll be my last lower body lift tonight, which was a bit more of a plyometric mobilization type session, and then the running now will be just stretching and some rolling, some mobilizing, alongside short, easy runs.
Lovely.
Yeah.
It works quite well for me because I finish Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So from Wednesday onwards, I'm just at home. So I might put myself in for a last minute osteopath just to straighten up my back a little bit because I'm just feeling a few little tweaks here and there. I don't know if it's mental, but I always feel just a little bit of a sharpen up in that region but then I don't know. I haven't decided whether that's detrimental in the last week of doing it. Maybe I should have done that this week, but I'll have a think over the weekend.
I had a sports massage the last taper week before Manchester, just to flush out the legs and everything. But make sure there's a couple of days before the race just to recover from that, because them getting quite deep into that muscle tissue can give you a bit of DOMS itself. So,
and Sunday night, I'm sure you'll both be celebrating, but how will that look? A few beers? Will you be in Chester or will you be back home? Or
we're splitting it down the middle. Can you believe it? So I'm the other half, who's dying to meet Daisy, by the way. Whenever we sort of meet,
Emily.
She's dying to meet Daisy. And she said before I came on, she went, "Make sure you mention how much I want to meet Daisy." We've got
all night long. Don't worry about that. Next time we see it.
Yeah, so we're going to have the afternoon/night into Chester, so a good feed, and there happens to be some really nice watering holes in Chester, and they're particularly on Sunday night. So that will be my Sunday evening, and then stopping at quite a nice spa resort place in Chester.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What about you, KQ?
It falls always obviously on a Sunday and into Monday, doesn't it? So for me, Todd's obviously working shifts. The perks of shifts, you can get that day off, but it'll be heading back, this end back to the Black Country, and probably plenty. Go out for a meal, nice big feed, and then feet up with Super Sunday. I think that'll be hopefully with the time that we want under our belt, but more importantly, the experience.
Yeah, excellent, amazing.
Right, I'm just cautious of time. I've just looked at the clock, so we have broke 2 hours again. I've just quickly before we
start with, because is that going to go out?
What's that? Sorry.
Does that include the 10 minutes in the green room before we came on?
It does, yeah. But that might go onto the bloopers reel, maybe.
The cutting room floor.
But just before we finish off, I just need to do because if I don't do it now, I'll lose it. The Strava segment for this week. So last week's leaders on the Strava leaderboard. At the top was Steve Turner with 86.8 miles. Second was Nicholas Forsman with 77.2. And third was last week's winner of Nathan Hampson was 75.5 miles. And just so you know, TQ, you were in 14th with 52.5. And
yeah, plan for that.
And KQ was in 13th. So one place ahead with 53.3. But then our climbing winner. Now, I looked at this earlier and went, that can't be right. But I think it might be. Our climbing leader for this week is Jack Blackburn, who has climbed a total of 12,380 foot.
Cyclist.
Wrong activity.
Oh, that old chestnut. That's amazing. If that's what he's really ran, that's crazy.
I know.
What's that in meters? 4,000 meters. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then second is Tommy D with 4,964. And third is Liz Brown with 3,511. So, and then that's the other thing that I need to check quickly is our top ladies. In first place for the ladies was Lisa Thomas again, who is building up for Amsterdam with 57.1. Second was D. Cook Rees with 54.8. And third was Liz Brown with 51.2. So well done to everybody who I have just named on our leaderboard. But yeah, I think that pretty much concludes this week. But there is so much more we could chat about. So I think after Chester, we need to get you back on if you're up for it, boys.
Absolutely.
We'd love to have you back on. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It's just keep doing what you're doing, guys. You know, when you're tuning on your long run, and you know your approach is just so refreshing. Your passion for the sport is just it oozes out the screen. And when you're listening to you, it's like catching up with a couple of old mates. And to do that awesome, and it means the world. So you know the positive impact you're having. Keep doing what you're doing. It's great.
Thanks, man.
Nice one.
Yeah, I have to get that 100%. Yeah, it is such a, before we go out on a Saturday or Sunday run and we check there's a podcast available. It's split me and KQ up. We go on our own runs now just to listen to you.
So anything to not have to talk to each other.
And I can't wait for the return of you on YouTube. I'm waiting day by day. I'm going back to 2019 after I finish on the piano behind me.
After got a tinkle on the eyebrows.
Soon, I promise I will get it done soon. It's just work and everything that goes with it of running a business and teaching. You know all about that, KQ. And then having to edit this sort of eats into my editing time for the week. So I promise I'll get back to it soon.
You stuck with the podcast for now.
What was that? Sorry?
Again, that cut out.
You got the Droitwich half footage, haven't you?
Yeah, I know. That's one of the next races I need to edit. I haven't edited anything since Birmingham, so there's about 7 races. So the
YouTube count still looks healthy. I monitor that. That's not gone. That's to continue to grow. So there you go.
That's all right. Good.
The audience are waiting.
Well, before we go, I just wanted to wish a couple of people well for their races.
Oh yes,
this weekend. Starting with someone who raced last week, who said, "Please, can you give me a shout out for last week?" But we just recorded the podcast because we recorded it early last week, and this is to Ryan Close. So we've mentioned Ryan before. Ryan is in training for the Dublin City Marathon at the end of October, and he was debating whether to do his 20-mile run or how to do it last week because he had the Belfast half marathon last week. And he said to me, I'm just going to do it nice and easy. I'm going to run down there as part of my 20-miler, and then I'm going to do it all at marathon pace, nice and sensible. But then that all went out the window, and he said, no, actually, I'm driving down, I'm saving my legs, I'm going for a PB. And I'm pleased to report that Super Ryan completed the Belfast Marathon in 1:38. That's a huge PB for him, and he's even completed it in what he calls his Bretts. So there's him.
Amazing.
And there's him and his son and his lad, both wearing their matching wraparound sunglasses, looking hot to trot. So congratulations, mate, on your run. I'd also like to wish a couple of people well for the weekend. So we had Matthew Morris, who wrote in to say he's doing the Potteries half marathon in Stoke-on-Trent this weekend. This is his first race since injury, 15 months he hasn't raced for. So best of luck, mate.
Yeah,
really
run well,
hope
Matt.
it goes. Yeah, he's an avid listener of the podcast. So yeah, all the best, mate. Hope it goes really well. Have fun out there. Let us know how you do. And a couple of honourable shout outs. Beardy Rich is running the half marathon up in Nottingham, which is called the Robin Hood Half. So best of luck to you, mate. Hope it goes well. And anyone that's running Berlin, which is this weekend, which is one of the world's majors. So I know we've got Donato who lives down in Worcester down here. I know he's off doing it. So good luck, mate. And anyone else that is doing Berlin, if you did Berlin or race this weekend, please write in and let us know how it went.
Yeah. So, yeah, best of luck to everybody. But I think we have reached a new PB for the pod. And we should possibly call it there. So, thank you so much for listening or watching or however you consume the pod. But yeah, we will see you next week, and we will definitely have both KQ and TQ back on for a debrief after Chester. So thanks for watching, guys. And see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
See you guys. Read the small print on your contract.
Len, I have popped out again.